हेलो एवं वेलकम टू द चैनल। तो आज हम क्लीन रूम सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियरिंग की चैप्टर को रीड करने वाले। देखिए, जानते हैं इसके अंदर क्या क्या हमारे को दिया गया है। द इंटीग्रेटेड यूज of conventional software engineering modeling and possible formal methods, program verification and statistical SQA have been combined into a technique that can lead to extremely high quality software. Clean room software engineering is an approach that emphasizes the need to build correctness into software as it is being developed. Instead of the classic analysis, design, code, test, and debug cycle, the clean room approach suggests a different point of view. The philosophy behind cleanroom software engineering is to avoid dependence on costly defect removal processes by writing code increments right the first time and verifying their correctness before testing. Its process model incorporates the statistical quality certification of code increments as they accumulate into a system. In many ways, the clean room approach elevates software engineering to another level. Like the formal method presented in Chapter 25, the clean room process emphasizes rigor in specification and design and formal verification of each design element using correctness proofs that are mathematically based. Extending the approach taken in formal method, the clean room approach also emphasizes techniques for statistical quality control, including testing that is based on the anticipated use of the software by customer. What is it? How many times have you heard someone say do it right the first time? That's the overriding philosophy of clean room software engineering, a process that emphasizes mathematically verification of correctness before program construct commences and certification of software reliability as part of testing activity. The bottom line is extremely low failure rates that would be difficult or impossible to achieving using less formal method. What does it? A specific, a specially trained software engineer. Why is it important? Mistakes create rework. Rework takes time and increase cost. Wouldn't be nice it would be dramatically reduce the number of mistakes, bugs introduced as the software is designed and built. That's the premise of clean software engineering. What are the steps? Analyze and design models are created using box structure representation. A box encapsulates the system or some aspect of the system at a specific level of abstraction. Correctness verification is applied once the box structure design is complete. Once correctness has been verified for each box structure, statistical usage testing commences. The software is tested by defining a set of usage scenario, determining the probability of use for each scenario, and then defining random tests that conform to the probabilities. The error record that result are analyzed to enable mathematical computation of project reliability for the software component. What is the work product? Black box, state box, and clear box specification are developed. The result of formal correctness proofs and statistical use tests are recorded. How do I ensure that I have done it right? Formal proof of correctness is applied to the box structure specification, statistical or testing exercise usage scenario to ensure that errors in user functionality are uncovered and corrected. Test data are used to provide an indication of software reliability. When software fails in real world, immediate and long-term hazards abound. The hazards can be related to human safety, economic loss, or effective operation of business and societal infrastructure. Clean room software engineering is a process model that removes defects before they can precipitate serious hazard. The clean room approach. The philosophy of the clean room in hardware fabrication technology is really quite simple. It is cost effective and time effective. Establish a fabrication approach that precludes the introduction of product defects rather than fabrication products and then working to remove defects. The clean room approach demands the discipline required to eliminate defects in specification and design and then fabricate in a clean manner. The classroom, the clean room philosophy was first proposed for software engineering by Mills, Dyer, and Linger during the 1980s. Although early experience with the discipline approach to software work showed significant promise, it has not gained widespread usage. Henderson suggests three possible reasons. First, a belief that the clean room methodology is too theoretical, too mathematical, and too radical for use in real software development. It advocates no unit testing by developers but instead replaces it with correctness verification and statistical quality control concept that represent a major departure from the way most software is developed today. The maturity of the software development industry, the use of clean room processes requires rigorous application of defined processes in all life cycle phases. Since most of the industry is still operating at the ad hoc level as defined as the process software engineering institute capability maturity model, the industry has not been ready to apply those techniques. Despite elements of truth in each of these concerns, the potential benefits of clean room software engineering far outweigh the investment required to overcome the cultural resistance that is at the core of this concern. The clean room strategy. The clean room approach makes use of a specialized version of the incremental software model. A pipeline of software increments is developed by small independent software engineering teams. As each increment is certified, it is integrated there in the whole, hence functionality of the system grows with time. The sequence of clean rooms asked for each increment is illustrated in figure 26.1. Overall system or product requires are developed using the system engineering method discussed in chapter 10. Once functionality has been assigned to the software element of the system, the pipeline of clean room increment is initiated. The following tasks occur. Increment planning. A project plan that adapts the increment strategy is developed. The functionality of each increment, its projected size, and a clean room development schedule are created. Special care must be taken to ensure that certified increments will be integrated in a timely manner. Requirement gathering. Using techniques similar to those introduced in Chapter 11, a more detailed description of customer level requirements for each increment is developed. Box structure specification. A specification method that makes use of box structure is used to describe the functional specification conforming. ठीक है इसमें आप देखो एस सी आर जी बी एस एस एफ डी सी वी सी जी सी आई एस यू टी सी सिस्टम ये है सिस्टम इंजीनियरिंग आर जी का रिक्वायरमेंट गैदरिंग बॉक्स स्ट्रक्चर स्पेसिफिकेशन फॉर्मल डिजाइन करेक्टनेस वेरिफिकेशन कोड जनरेशन कोड इंस्पेक्शन स्टैटिस्टिकल यूज टेस्टिंग सर्टिफिकेशन टीपी टेस्ट प्लानिंग तो इंक्रीमेंट वन इंक्रीमेंट टू इंक्रीमेंट थ्री या द क्लीन रूम प्रोसेस मॉडल to the operational analysis principle discussed in chapter 9 box structure isolate and separate the creative definition of behavior data and procedure at each level of refinement. Formal design. Using the test box structure approach, clean room design is a natural and seamless extension of specification, although it is possible to make a clear distinction between the two activities. Specification called black box are iteratively refined within an increment to become analogous to agri architectural and component level designs called state boxes and clear boxes respectively. Correctness verification. The clean room team conducts a series of rigorous correctness verification activities on the design and then the code. Verification begins with the highest level box structure and moves toward design detail and code. The first level of correctness verification occurs by applying a set of correctness questions. If these do not demonstrate that the specification is correct, more formal methods for verification are used. Code generation, inspection, and verification. The box structure specification represented in a specialized language and are translated into the appropriate programming language. Standard walkthrough or inspection techniques are then used to ensure semantic conformance of the code and box structure and syntactic correctness of the code. The correctness verification is conducted for the source code. Statistical test planning. The project usage of the software is analyzed and a suite of test cases that exercise a probability distribution of usage are planned and designed. Referring to figure 26.1, the clean room activity is conducted in parallel with specification verification and code generation. Statistical use testing SUT. Recalling that exhaustive testing of computer software is impossible. It is always necessary to design a finite number of test cases. Statistical use technique execute a series of tests derived from a statistical sample. The probability distribution noted earlier of all possible program execution by all users from a targeted population. Then certification. Once verification, inspection, and usage testing have been completed and all errors are corrected, the increment is certified as ready for integration. Like other software processes model discussed elsewhere in this book, the clean room process relies heavily on the need to produce high quality analyze and designed models. As we will see later in this chapter, box structure and notation is simply another way for a software engineer to represent requirement and design. The real distinction of the clean room approach is that formal verification is applied to engineer model. What makes clean room different? Dyer alludes the difference of the clean room approach when he defines the process. Clean room represents the first practical attempting at putting the software development process under statistical quality control with a well-defined strategy for continuous process improvement. To reach this goal, a clean room unique life cycle was defined, which focused on mathematical based software engineering for correct software design and on statistic based software testing for a certification of software reliability. Clean room software engineering differs with the conventional and object oriented views present in parts 3 and 4 of this book because it makes explicit use of statistical quality control. It verifies design specification using a mathematical based proof of correctness. It relies heavily on statistical use testing to uncover high impact error. Obviously, the clean room approach applies most, if not all, of the basic software engineering principle and concept presented throughout his book. Good analysis and design procedures are essential if high quality is to result, but class clean room engineering diverges from conventional software practices by de-emphasizing, some would say eliminating the role of unit testing and debugging and dramatically reducing or eliminating the amount of testing performed by the developer of the software. In conventional software development, errors are accepted as a fact of life because errors are deemed to be inevitable. Each program module should be unit tested to uncover error and then debug to remove error. When the software is finally released, field use uncover still more defects and another test and debug cycle begins. The network associated with these activities is costly and time consuming. Worse, it can be degenerative error correction can lead to the introduction of still more error. In clean room software engineering, unit testing and debugging are replaced by correctness verification and statistical based testing. These activities, coupled with the record keeping necessary for continuous improvement, make the clean room approach unique. Then आता है functional specification. Regardless of the analysis method that is chosen, the operational principle presented in chapter 11 applied data function and behavior are modeled. The resultant models must be partitioned to provide increasing greater detail. The overall objective is to move from a specification that captures the essence of a problem to a specification that provides substantial implementation detail. Clean room software engineering compiles with the operational analysis principle by using a method called box structure specification. A box encapsulates the system or some aspect of the system at some level of detail through a process of stepwise refinement. Boxes are refined into a hierarchy where each box has referential transparency. This is the information content of each box specification is sufficient to define its refinement without depending on the implementation of any other box. This enables the analyst to partition a student hierarchy moving from essential representation at the top to implementation specific detail at the bottom. Three types of boxes are used. Black box. The black box specifies the behavior of a system or a part of a system. The system responds to specific stimuli by applying a set of transition rules that map the stimulus into a response. State box. The state box encapsulates state data and services operation in a manner that is analogous to a objects in the specification view. Input to the state box and output are represented. The state box also represents the stimulus history of the black box, that is the data encapsulated in the state box that must be retained between the transition implied. Clear box. The transition functions that are implied by the state box are defined in the clear box. Stated simply, a clear box contains the procedural design for the state box. Figure 26.2 illustrates the refinement approach using box structure specification. A black box defines response for a complete set of stimuli. BB1 can be defined into a B1 can be defined into a set of black boxes B, B1.1 to BB1 to N, each of which address a class of behavior. Refinement continues until a cohesive class of behavior is identified. A state box is then defined for the black box. In this case, SB 1.1 contains all data and services required to implement the behavior defined by BB 1.121. Finally, SB 121 is refined into color boxes and procedural design details are specified. As each of these refinement steps occur, verification of correctness also occurs. State box specifications are verified to ensure that each conforms to the behavior defined by the parent black box specification. Similarly, clear box specifications are verified against the parent state box. It should be noted that specification method based on formal methods can be used in lieu of the box structure specification approach. The only requirement is that each level of specification can be formally verified. Black box specification. A black box specification describes an abstraction, stimuli, and response using the notation. The function f is applied to a sequences of input and transform them into an output. R for simple software components. F may be mathematical function, but in general, F is described using natural language or a formal specification language. Many of the concepts introduced for object-oriented system are also applicable for the black box. Data abstraction and the operation that manipulate that abstraction are encapsulated by the black box like a class hierarchy. The black box specification can exhibit usage hierarchies in which low level inherit the properties of these boxes higher in the tree structure. 26.2.2 State box specification. The state box is a simple generalization of a state machine, recalling the discussion of behavior modeling and state transition diagram. State is some observable mode of system behavior as processing occur. A system responds to events by making a transition from the current state to some new state. As the transition is made, an action may occur. The state box uses a data abstraction to determine the transition to the next state and the action that will occur as a consequence of the transition. Referring to figure 26.4, a state box specification, a state and black box to state and the state box incorporates a black box, the stimulus S. This is input to the black box arrived from some external source and set of internal system states. T mills provide a mathematical description of the function f of the black box contained within the state box. G S star into T star implies R into T, where G is a sub-function that is tied to the specific state T when considered collection collectively. The state sub-function pairs Tg define the black box function f. Clear box specification. The clear box specification is closely aligned with procedural design and structural programming. In essence, the sub-function G within the state box is replaced by the structural programming construct that implement G. As an example, consider the clear box figure 26.5. This is a clear box diagram, a clear box specification. ओके यहाँ पे क्लियर भी आ जाएगा, देखिए CG1, G12, G13। तो यहाँ पे क्लियर बॉक्स, द ब्लैक बॉक्स जी, ये जो जी सिंबल है ब्लैक बॉक्स के लिए shown in figure 26.4 is replaced by the sequence construct that incorporates a conditional. These in turn can be defined into lower level clear boxes as stepwise definement process. It is important to note that the procedural specification described in the clear box hierarchy can be proved to be correct. This topic is considered in the next section. Clean room design. The design approach used in clean room software engineering makes heavy use of the software programming philosophy, but in this case, structural programming is applied for more rigorously. Basic Basic processing functions described during earlier refinement of the specification are refined using a stepwise expansion of mathematical function into structure of logical connectives. Example if then else and subfunction when the expansion is carried out until all identified subfunction could be directly stated in the programming language used for implementation. The structural programming approach can be used effectively to refine function, but what about data design? Here a number of fundamental design concepts come into play. Program data are encapsulated as a set of abstractions that are serviced by subfunction. The concept of data encapsulation, information hiding, and data typing are used to create the data design. Design refinement and verification. Each clear box specification represents the design of a procedure required to accomplish a state box transition. With the clear box, the structure, programming construct, and stepwise refinement are used as illustrated figure 26.6. A program function f is defined into a sequence of subfunction g and h. These in turn are refined into conditional construct if then else and do while. Further refinement illustrate continuing logical refinement. At each level of refinement, the clean room team performs a formal correctness verification. To accomplish this, a set of generic correctness conditions are attached to the structural programming construct. If a function f is expanded into a sequence g and h, the correctness condition for all input to f is does g followed by h do f. When a function p is defined into a conditional of the form if c then q else r, the correctness condition for all into p. ठीक है, this is a figure 26.6 for stepwise refinement. Whenever condition C is true, does Q do P? Whenever C is false, does R do P? When function M is refined as a loop, the correctness condition for all input to M are is termination guaranteed. Whenever C is true, does N followed by M do M? And whenever C is false, does escaping the loop still do M? Each time a clear box is refined to the next level of detail, these correctness conditions are applied. It is important to note that the use of the structural programming construct constraint the number of correctness tests that must be conducted. A single condition is checked for sequence, two conditions are selected for if then else, and three conditions are verified for loops. To illustrate correctness verification for a procedural design, we use a simpler example first introduced by Linger, Mills, and Witt. The intent is to design and verify a small program that finds the integer part y of a square root of a given integer x. The procedural design is represented using the flowchart in figure 26.7. To verify the constant correctness of the design, we must define entry and exit condition as noted in figure 26.8. This is a figure 26.7 computing the integer part of a square root. Y equal to 0, y plus 1 whole square is less than equal to x. If condition is true, y is equal to y plus 1 and a note, then arrows goes down there. Okay, the anti condition notes that x must be greater than or equal to 0. The exit condition requires that x remain unchanged and take on a value within the range noted in figure. To prove the design to be correct, it is necessary to prove the condition in a loop, count yes, and exit shown in figure 26 point are true. In all cases, there are sometimes called subproofs. You can see that this is a figure 26.8 proving the design correct. Okay, so we use in this diagram init condition, count condition. If yes, then it will go to this box y equal to y plus 1, exit x unchanged, and y square is less than equal to x and less than equal to y plus 1 whole square. The condition in it demands that x is greater than equal to 0 and y equal to 0. Based on the requirement of the problem, the anti condition is assumed correct. Therefore, the first part of the init condition satisfied. Referring to the flowchart, the statement immediately preceding the init condition says y equal to 0. Therefore, the second part of the init condition is also satisfied. Hence, init is true. Second, the loop condition may be encouraged in one of two ways: directly from init. The loop condition is satisfied directly, or via control flow that passes through the condition. Since the count condition is identical to the loop condition, loop is true regardless of the flow path that leads to it. The count condition is anchored only after the value of y is incremented by 1. In addition, the control flow path that leads to count can be invoked only if the yes condition is also true. Hence, if y plus 1 whole square is less than equal to x, it follows that y square is less than equal to x. The count condition is satisfied. The yes condition is tested in the conditional logic shown. Hence, the yes condition must be true when control flow moves along the path shown. The exit condition first demands that x remains unchanged. An examination of the design indicates that x appears nowhere to the left of an assignment operator. There are no function calls that use x, hence it is unchanged. Since the condition test y plus 1 whole square less than equal to x must fail to reach the exit condition, it follows that y plus 1 whole square less than equal to x. In addition, the loop condition must still be true, y square less than equal to x. Therefore, y plus 1 whole square is greater than x and y square is less than equal to x can be combined to satisfy the exit condition. We must further ensure that the loop terminates. An examination of the loop condition indicates that because y is incremented and x is greater than equal to 0, the loop must eventually terminate it. The five steps just noted are a proof of the correctness of the design of the algorithm noted in figure 26.7. We are now certain that a design will in fact compute the integer part of a square root. A more rigorous mathematical approach to design verification is possible. However, a discussion of this topic is beyond the scope of the book. Interested readers should refer to Lin 79. Advantage of design verification. Rigorous correctness verification of each refinement of the clear box design has a number of distinct advantages. Linger l- described these in the following manner. It reduces verification to a finite process. The next is sequential way that controls structure and organized in a clear box naturally defined a hierarchy, a design with subproofs. Hierarchy that reveals the correctness condition that must be verified. An axiom replacement, let us substitute intended function with their control structure refinement in the hierarchy of subproofs. For example, the subproofs for the intended function f1 figure 26.9 requires proving that the composition of the operation g1 and g2 with the intended function f2 has the same effect on data as f1. Note that f2 substitute for all the details of its refinement in the proof. The substitution localized the proof argument to the control structure at hand. In fact, it let the software engineer carry out the proofs in any order. If it is impossible to overemphasize the positive effect that reducing verification to a finite process has on quality, even though all but the most stable of program exhibit an essentially infinite number of execution paths. They can be verified in a finite number of steps. It lets clean room team verify every line of design and code. Teams can carry out the verification through group analysis and discussion on the basis of the correctness theorem, and they can produce written proofs when extra confidence in a live or mission critical system is required. It results in a near zero defective level. During a team review, every correctness condition of every structure is verified in return. Every team member must agree that each condition is correct so an error is possible. Only if team member incorrectly verifies a condition, the requirement for unanimous agreement based on individual verification result in software that has few or no defects before first execution. It scales up. Every software system, no matter how large, has top-level clear box procedure composed of sequence, alternation, and iteration structures. Each of these typically invokes a large subsystem with thousands of lines of code, and each of those subsystems has its own low-level intended function and procedure. So the correctness condition for these high-level control structure are verified in the same way as are those of low-level structure. Verification at high level may take and will be worth more time, but it does not make more theory. It produces better code than unit testing. Unit testing checks the effects of executing only selected test paths out of many possible paths. By basing verification on function theory, the clean room approach can verify every possible effect on all data because while a program may have many execution paths, it has only one function. Verification is also more efficient than unit testing. Most verification condition can be checked in a few minutes, but unit testing takes substantial time to prepare, execute, and check. It is important to note that design verification must ultimately be applied to the source code itself. In this context, it is often called correctness verification. Clean room testing. The strategy and tactics of clean room testing are fundamentally different from conventional testing approaches. Conventional methods derive a set of test cases to uncover design and coding error. The goal of clean room testing is to validate software requirement by demonstrating that a statistical sample of use cases, chapter 11, have been executed successfully. Statistical use testing. The user of a computer program really needs to understand the technical details of the design. The user visible behavior of the program is driven by inputs and events that are often produced by the user. But in a complex system, the possible spectrum of input and events can be extremely wide. What subset of use case will adequately verify the behavior of the program? This is the first question addressed by statistical use testing. Statistical use testing amounts of to testing software the way users intend to use it. To accomplish this, clean room testing teams, also called certification teams, must be determined a usage probability distribution for the software. The specification for each increment of the software is analyzed to define a set of stimuli, input or event that cause the software to change its behavior based on interviews with potential users, the creation of usage scenario and a general understanding of the application domain. A probability of use is assigned to each stimuli. Test cases are generated for each stimuli according to the usage probability distribution. To illustrate, consider the safe home security system described earlier in this book. Cleanroom software engineering is being used to develop software increment that manages user interaction with the security system keypad. Five stimuli have been identified for this increment. Analysis indicate the percent probability distribution of each stimulus. To make selection of test cases easy, these probability are mapped into intervals numbered between 1 to 99 and illustrated in the following table. Arm disarm 50% probability interval between 1 to 49. Zone set 15% probability 50 to 63 interval. Query 15% 64 to 78 interval. Test 15% probability 79 to 94. Panic alarm 5% probability 95 to 95. To generate a sequence of usage test cases that conform to the usage probability distribution, a series of random number between 1 and 99 is generated. The random number corresponding to an interval of the preceding probability distribution. Hence, the sequence of usage test cases is defined randomly but corresponding to the appropriate probability of stimuli occurrence. For example, assume the following random number sequence are generated: 13, 94, 22, 24, 45, 56, 81, 19, 31, 16. These are the random numbers. Selected the appropriate stimuli based on the distribution interval shown in the table. Use cases are derived AD, T, AD, 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 ZS. Like this, all are distribution intervals. The testing team execute these use cases and verify software behavior against the specification for the system. Timing for test is recorded so that interval times may be determined. Using interval times, the certification team can compute mean time to failure. If a long sequence of tests is conducted without failure, the MTTF is low and software reliability may be assumed high. Certification. The verification and testing technique discussed earlier in this chapter led to software component that can be certified with the context of the cleanroom software engineering approach. Certification implies that the reliability can be specified for each component. The potential impact of certifiable software component goes far beyond a single cleanroom project. Reusable software components can be stored along with their usage scenarios, program stimuli, and probability distribution. Each component would have a certified reliability under the usage scenario and testing regime described. This information is invaluable to others who intend to use the component. The certification approach involves five steps. First, usage scenario must be created. A usage profile is specified. Test cases are generated from the profile. Tests are executed and failure data are recorded and analyzed. Reliability is computed and certified. Step 1 through 4 have been discussed in an earlier section. In this section, we con- concentrate on reliability certification. Certification for cleanroom software engineering requires the creation of three models: sampling model, component model, certification model. Software testing execute M random test cases and is certified if no failure or specified number of failures occur. The value of M is derived mathematically to ensure that required reliability is achieved. Component model: a system composed of n components is to be certified. The component model enables the analyst to determine the probability that component I will fail prior to completion. The overall certification model: the overall reliability of the system is projected and certified. At the completion of statistical use testing, the certification team has the information required to deliver software that has a certified MTTF computed using each of these models. A detailed discussion of the computation of the sampling component and certification is beyond the scope of the book. The interested readers should be for additional detail. Summary: Clean room software engineering is a formal approach to software development that can lead to a software that has remarkable high quality. It uses both structure specification or formal methods for analysis and design modeling and emphasizes correctness verification rather than testing as the primary mechanism for finding and removing error. Statistical use testing is applied to develop the failure rate information necessary to certify the reliability of deliverable software. The clean room approaches begin with analysis and design model that use a box structure representation. A box encapsulates the system or some aspect of the system at a specific level of abstraction. Black boxes are used to represent the externally observable behavior of a system. State boxes encapsulate state data and operation. A clear box is used to model the procedural design and is implied by the data and operation of a state box. Correctness verification is applied once the box structure design is complete. The procedure design for a software component is partitioned into a series of subfunctions. To prove the correctness of the subfunction, exit conditions are defined for each subfunction and a set of subproofs is applied. If each exit condition is satisfied, the design must be correct. Once correctness verification is complete, statistical use testing commences. Unlike conventional testing, cleanroom software engineering does not emphasize unit or integration testing. Rather, the software is tested by defining a set of usage scenarios, determining the probability of use for each scenario, and then defining random tests that conform to the probability. The error record that result are combined with sampling component and certification model to enable mathematical computation of project reliability for the software component. The clean room philosophy is a rigorous approach to software engineering. It is software process model that emphasize mathematical verification of correctness and certification of software reliability. The bottom line is extremely low failure rates that would be difficult or impossible to achieve using less formal method. So this is the clean room software engineering. And if you like this channel, please like this and subscribe. Please like, comment, and subscribe on this channel. And I will meet you in another video. Thank you so much for listening to me.